Okay, I'll go ahead and get us started. Thank you all for being here today and welcome. Good afternoon. I'm Julie Chavdi. I'm the Associate Director of the Health and Wellbeing Program with the WorkWell Center and your host for today. So welcome to EatWell Bites, sponsored by the Healthy Campus EatWell Subcommittee. Today's topic is on creating healthy eating habits, tips to make your nutrition goals stick. Throughout today's session, you're welcome to use the chat to make comments or ask questions specific to today's topic. And at the end, we'll share some announcements and we'll have our raffle as well as the evaluation form. Next slide. I'd like to thank our Eat Well co-leads, Professor Carrie Kreutzer with the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology and Keck School of Medicine, and Lindsay Pine, our dining dietitian with hospitality. And on behalf of our entire Eat Well subcommittee, we're excited to introduce Eat Well Bites, which will continue monthly the first Thursday of every month through the end of spring semester. Our goal is to provide you with practical tips, hands-on demonstrations, tools, and resources to help improve your health and quality of life through nutrition and healthy eating habits. So over the next 30 minutes, we'll be sharing our expertise around this very important topic. And I also like to thank the members of the Eat Well subcommittee for all their hard work promoting a healthy food environment at USC. And as always, a reminder to move anytime during today's session. Feel free to stand, stretch, anything that feels best for you. Next slide. I now like to introduce our presenter for today. It's my pleasure to introduce Brittany Gurney, who is a clinical outpatient dietitian with Keck Medicine of USC. Brittany, welcome.
Thank you all, and thank you, Julie, for that. I gotta practice changing my slides here. I got a little handy with them. But thank you, Julie, and thank you, Suzanne, for allowing me to come and speak about this topic. It is a topic around habit formation that I consider and think about a lot in my consults as one of the outpatient dietitians here. And so really important topic. We're going to get into defining a habit first, so we're all on the same page here. Why the habit might not have stuck in the past or become a habit. And then I want to give you some tips for success, or that's what I'm hoping that what you guys will achieve from this. When we think about a habit is something that we're doing regularly. It's a tendency or practice that's hard to give up, regardless of the outcome. So, those strong habits or just formed habits we have, they're possibly not even goal dependent. Okay, we're on autopilot when we have an actual habit. So something I hear a lot in my workspace is about self-control and very goal-oriented. And those are two very positive things, but they don't necessarily mean that it is a formed habit. And a formed habit actually may not even need a lot of self-control or willpower. I wanted to open it up and ask some questions if you guys wanted to unmute yourself, or if you feel like you want to use the chat function to write in the chat, what are some examples of habits you actually have now? Diet, nutrition related, or in fact, if they're not, that's okay too, if you can't think of any. I find this, an example that I have in my own life is a very simple habit is making coffee in the morning, for instance. Working out. Okay. Excellent. Latte every morning with sugar, filling my water bottle, salad at least twice a week, morning run, eating breakfast or preparing breakfast the night before, lots of water. Okay, making my work lunch. I love all of these awesome comments. And if I'm missing yours, I apologize about that. Morning dog walk. Oh, that sounds lovely right now. I'm seeing a really beautiful morning sun when I hear that. Stretching every morning. These are great. So it's something where you might find that when you were creating some of those habits over time, reflecting upon how you did that, it might have taken, a good amount of time at first, but now it's automatic. There are going to be habits. It's important for us to understand how they're formed in order for us to achieve that. They're going to be formed from a learned experience, retraining our brain through repetition. That's a part where we're going to be repeating this exercise or behavior over and over again. And other cues. So one example I think about with cues is when you move into a new living space. So, and these are habits that might come and they're just automatic. Maybe you now live with your spouse and you lived alone before, and habits may be formed automatically just with the addition of a new person that you're living with in your living space. And there has to be some sort of reward system, which we're going to get into today. I feel like I've heard maybe many of you have that habits take 21 days or a couple weeks to be formed. And in fact, research shows that they can actually be much longer to form that. In a 2009 study, they suggested 18 to 254 days for that small population that they studied on how long it took for them to kind of really solidify a habit. So I think that's important to know because it allows us to create more appropriate expectations around that. Let's talk a little bit about why that habit didn't stick. So if you guys want to put in the chat function, what are some examples of nutrition-related habits you tried to create that didn't work for you? I'll say for me, I used to really want to do meal prep, and now I don't. But that was one that I tried to fulfill for extensive amounts of days. And then I realized for many reasons that did not happen. And I think that was a good reflection period for me. No carb, not eating past 9, not eating too late, getting my walk in, always a fail. Okay. Didn't enjoy doing it, snacking all the time, meal prepping. Okay. Any sort of restricted habits. Okay. Journaling, eating veggies every meal. These are great. I appreciate all of this feedback. So some of the barriers that we see to why they didn't actually stick. Here are some. Now, remember that goal is not necessarily a habit, right? But goals can oftentimes lead to us creating a habit. So maybe those goals were too big or too many, not specific enough. Another possibility is that we actually just passed the step 1, the start, the process of the start, which we'll get in today. Willpower, self-discipline, really common for me to hear that word or that phrase in consults. And we know that that's of limited supply. Going at it alone. 2 very specific diet-related points I make here is making uninformed choices based on what you or others feel is healthy, and then lacking understanding or ignoring your basic nutrition needs. So I put this just based on experience. Okay, we can also back research to show this as well. If you have low blood sugar and you're trying to not break that habit of a fast food at night, there's a high likelihood that you're still going to be eating that meal that you're trying to break the habit of because of the fact that you're going in not being fueled appropriately. So a more specific example around that, ignoring your basic nutrition needs. So something I hear in a consults particularly is if a person wants to eat less fast food, maybe after their work, they go home through the drive-through most days, either with their kids or solo or with a family member, and they really want to start cooking at home. But oops, they forgot to bring their lunch to work the last few days. Or you know what, they've just been relying on coffee throughout the day and really didn't drink a whole lot of water. and they're frustrated. They're frustrated, and I feel that. They're frustrated that they can't get over that hump. And so we'll get into that. How can we get over that hump? One is not ignoring our basic cues of hunger and needs. Here are some questions that a person could ask themselves as a way to self-reflect and not criticize themselves, but just to observe, right? Like, why was I not able to achieve that goal? Did I skip a meal today? Did I exercise more than usual recently? Am I eating differently because I feel more negative or positive emotions today? Here's another. Did I drink a lot of alcohol last night? And that's why I slept so poorly and I'm not really eating how I normally do or achieving that goal I want to. So let's get into success, how to make these a success. And I do see some comments too coming in still with the habits. So let's go to this one first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a set of like 9 different tips. And the idea, the hope is that you're gathering different resources for you that really might help with that habit formation. First off is just reducing that barriers to habit formation. Our willpower, like I said, is of limited supply. When you think of your own situation, are there any barriers, or what are some, maybe not in your own life, but what are some barriers that you might consider if somebody's trying to make a positive habit for them? You can put in the chat if you would like to. I'll give you some examples here as we go. In my own life, and actually I know this is common for other people, are kids. Kids, right? You know, you have kids and actually they can create a lot of barriers to that habit formation or destruct the habit that you had prior. And that's not necessarily you know, a terrible thing. It could create more opportunity for other types of habits to be formed. I see a lack of support, family, friends, time management, food always around. Okay, these are great ones. And these are oftentimes, or these are some of the barriers that I put up as well. Now, there's others too. There's lists of these different eating habits from people you may live with. Yes, exactly. So I put a couple others up here, self-consciousness. Sometimes something I hear is the person wants to, you know, they're going to go out with their friends. They're trying to drink less alcohol, but they feel peer pressure. So some self-consciousness going on there that, okay, I have to drink that alcohol. Safety. Maybe you live in an unsafe neighborhood where you don't have great access to food. So that is why you stop and get your meal on your way home from work rather than go to a grocery store nearby. And these all look like ones of the lines that I would put here. Here's an example I'm going to write up here. Let's say a person has a goal and their goal is that they want to eat a protein-rich breakfast every day. Here are some barriers that they might have, like time, like lack of support. And these are some ways in which to reduce those barriers. They can tell their kids, maybe that they're in a fun way, they can tell their kids that, hey, you know what, I'm planning on eating breakfast with you every day now. I'm going to take 5 minutes to do that. You guys, I'm going to say this is not my goal, but I'm just saying that could be an idea that somebody else might feel that way. Have the food ready to go the night before. Choose a breakfast that takes 5 to 10 minutes to organize. More time to reflect, less time to criticize yourself for not creating that habit, right? So being specific and realistic, we know when we think of CAC our SMART goals, you might have those in your own departments in areas that you guys are working to achieve career-wise. And this goes the same with nutrition. 2 that I hear really common is I want to eat more vegetables or I want to eat more protein during the day. Those are really valid goals that a person might have. However, we know that we have to make those a little bit more specific in order to have a better chance of forming that habit. So maybe a person knows that they cook their homemade dinner 2 or 3 times per week. So on those nights, they're making sure that they're going to cook produce with that meal, right? It's very specific and it's realistic for that person. Another example is maybe the person already has a built-in breakfast. So for them, it's realistic that they want to have a protein-rich breakfast every day during the week. Okay, that's one way to get it started. And we want to dig in deeper to the why of the actual goal. If you're saying that, I'm doing this nutrition related thing because my kids told me I should do it. I do hear that pretty regularly. There's not a deep why as to why we're actually creating that habit. It may not stick for very long. All right, this might actually sound pretty simple when we're thinking about just focus on getting started. Why would this be so important? Well, actually, we have a perspective of a goal and we think, yes, I want that thing. And we find that we're spending not enough time on actually getting that started. What is the plan and process to get our wheels turned and getting ourselves started? So an example with this protein-rich breakfast that I mentioned, this person has, they are going to plan out a little bit. They're actually going to choose those options that are going to be ready within 5 minutes because time is their barrier. Okay. At this time, you guys are welcome to write in the chat any particular goal that you have where there were some points that helped you to get step 1 started. So if you'd like to put that in the chat, that would be great. I'm going to go on to this next one here. A common belief that I felt in the past was that a person has a goal and maybe they have some sort of reward system in place for 2 to 3 months. They're going to buy a new purse if they hit their goal, or they're going to go to the movie. I don't know. And those can still be put in place goals. But what we also find is we have to create some sort of positive feedback for that goal or for that habit you're trying to create, that goal that you're trying to create to become a habit. We need some sort of positive feedback then. In that moment, here are some examples of maybe what is considered positive feedback right away. So maybe you're playing your favorite music. That's something that you really enjoy while cooking. A favorite show while exercising or cooking. Something else I mentioned here is that you're choosing a healthy meal. Maybe that's your goal, is you're trying to choose more healthy meals to cook that has a positive memory to it. So, oh, you know what? I haven't cooked that dish that my mother always made during the holidays, and I would actually really like to be able to have that regularly. So that's something where you're creating positive associations with that. Okay. And I love to see these comments here. Research what you want to accomplish and foods that will supply that need, such as foods to reduce inflammation. Okay, thank you for these comments. Trying to lose weight can stick to plan, but when go off with friends, it's difficult to stick to the plan and not have rice and bread. Well, just from a nutrition standpoint, one thing we know, and we're going to get to it, is that habits should be on a repeat, but if they're so brittle that we can't break them, then they're actually going to be broken. So we do want a little bit of flexibility to our habits that we're creating, which we'll get into. Trying to replace the food with something healthier. I don't always succeed, but I'm getting better at replacement. Okay. Using your support system. So if you are an individual who is private with your goal setting and you don't like to necessarily discuss it and you want to keep it in. I do respect that, however, we also know that being vulnerable about our goal setting or trying to create a habit can hold us accountable. And it can create connectivity with others, which then can transpire to, making that habit. So I do actually challenge folks to ask a support system. If it's not at home or you don't feel like that's where you want to go, it could be outside of the house. Maybe it's your colleagues around lunchtime or friends. I put an online support network. I don't know. Maybe you're a gamer and you have a really good support group there, and that's who you feel like you want to tell. Okay, expect that forming a habit can be uncomfortable initially. So what we know about habits is there is an adaptation that has occurred, right? Our brain is wired to say, this is easy, I'm doing this automatic. So when you're trying to actually create a new habit, there is some discomfort because simply we're having to be rewiring those brain and that trigger physiologically. So yes, it's important to create expectations around what we might feel. Now, that is subjective, right? If you are completely in pain, completely in sore from a new exercise regimen, or really starving just to make that dinner at the end of the day, those are things to say, I think my discomfort is a little bit too much. And what else can I do to reduce some of those barriers? Another idea is called habit stacking. I don't know if any of you tried. I would love to see any comments in the chat at this time. But habit stacking is when you have a formed habit itself and you are working on creating a habit and you're going to place it with the established habit. So let's say I'm working on improving my fluid. I brush my hair every morning and I brush it at night. That's very automatic, simple. I'm going to make it a rule that I'm going to drink 6 ounces of water in the morning, brushing my hair. And then right after I brush my hair at night, I'm going to do 6 ounces. This is just an example. Okay. Do you guys have any examples of habit stacking that you have done in your own life? Okay, using 2 minutes with electric toothbrusher to do 2 minutes of toe lifts or stretch. I love that. I love that. That's so fun, right? We do those kinds of things where actually they do become habit forming. Another one related to food is, maybe a person cooks every night. I do meet some of you and I think that's great. I do not cook every night. Let's say you do cook every night. And that's a formed habit. It's easy, but you're trying to get in a more protein-rich breakfast. Perhaps you can prep some of those and stack that new habit with dinner. So you're prepping by boiling the eggs, chopping the fruit for breakfast the next day. And as we mentioned earlier, let's be a little bit flexible with our habit formation. Repetition is key, but also if 1 out of the 10 times you're doing that, you're trying to create that habit, we can't do it. That's okay. We're going to have emergencies. We're going to have vacations. We're going to have, to take care of our loved one. Unusual days happen. Acknowledging this is okay. In addition, from a nutrition standpoint, if somebody is eating 5% of their diet or 10% of their diet more indulgent, overall, we should be able to do that with a general healthy diet. So saying, hey, I'm okay with this. I'm going to enjoy that meal. It's outside of my norm. That's okay. And we should be able to do those things. All right. Last one I'll put here is I see another point here is I keep my vitamins near my toothbrush. Remember to take them. I love that one. That's a great idea. So we're trying to form this sort of habit around that. And Julie says, I keep mine next to my healthy snacks. That's great. This person says drinking 180 ounces of water every morning, driving to work. That's a lot. Wow, that's great. And you must have a really good size commute. Okay, last one. Do not neglect the power of preference and past experiences. So this is really important, I feel. If you have very particular preferences, we know taste is the number one reason we choose the foods we do. Convenience, costs are all very important, but we cannot neglect taste preferences. In addition, I do feel like there's a little bit of a halo around certain foods as them being all perfect. And many of Greek yogurt is one I hear, salads, kale. Those are great foods. They're very nutrient dense items or foods. However, what's great is we can also reach some of those nutrition or nutrients from other types of foods as well. So you don't have to eat them. Let's say you prefer savory breakfasts. You don't like Greek yogurt. Maybe your goal is that you're going to plan to warm up dinner leftovers 1 or 2 days for your breakfast and scrambled eggs with toast 1 or 2 times weekly. Okay, that's an example. Maybe the person doesn't like salads, but they think about it and they're like, I really like grilled peppers and avocado. So if you guys are aware, grilled peppers have a lot of vitamin C, which you could also get in salads. They have a lot of fiber. Avocado has fiber. So you're bringing in actually similar nutrients. I'm going to add avocado to my dish tonight. And then for my dinner that I'm cooking Thursday, I'm going to plan out some grilled peppers with that. Okay. As I'm going through this, I hope it was a way for you to kind of consider and reflect upon your own nutrition choices, your own habits, and kind of provide you some ideas on creating your own, not relying solely on self-control, right? We have to equip ourselves best to kind of meet those goals. And ultimately it comes down to what works for you, right? I see I'm a picky about foods I like. Yes, that's great. I did also list some resources here, as well as on both online resources and books. This one by Wendy Wood, I think is excellent. And I utilized some of her resources today when we were kind of going through these slides. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm going to open it up now.
Thank you, Brittany. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or speak up. We have about a minute for questions. So far, no questions have come in, but a lot of comments and sharing, which we really appreciate.
I'm reading one saying I'm not finding that my swaps are making big differences in my weight, but I feel that I'm eating healthier. Great. That's positive. You know, I think as we kind of have to reflect upon the positives as well as what other kind of things that we can work on if we are trying to make some nutrition changes. And sometimes it's a step by step. So sometimes those goals you have, if we're really going to get them to stick, might take some months on end. But I do like to see that you're having some sort of positive feedback from those swaps that you're doing.
Well, thank you so much, Brittany. A very important topic. I know one that we all struggle with, making habits stick, but getting started, I think, is the first step, and reflecting on maybe one thing we all would like to change as a result of today's session. So thank you for your time, and I'll turn it over to Lindsay for some announcements if you want to move to the next slide.
Pull this over. Sorry, guys. There.
There we go. Let's see here. Okay, so hey everybody. So basically I just wanted to jump in here just to just mention that we have all these great resources on our Eat Well subcommittee page, and the Healthier Dining on Campus guide. We are in the final stages here of just finishing up the guide for fall. So that's going to be out really, really shortly. So look for that on the website. Next slide, please. I don't think we have time for all this, so why don't you move ahead to the next slide? And the one after that. Okay, so basically, I can't believe this year's flying by here. So we have one more Eat Well Bites webinar next month. It's going to be on November 7th. It's with dietitian Nick Padula, and he's going to be talking about nutrition myths and fads. So that is definitely one that you will not want to miss. And I think, Julie, time for a raffle?
Yeah. Let's, if you can stop sharing, we'll have the little wheel and then we'll send out the evaluation link for all of you to fill out. But we wanted to do the raffle and see who our lucky winner is. Whoa. The wheel just spun again. Anna Lopez, congratulations. We'll be in touch with you to coordinate delivery of your gift card. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you all next month. Thank you so much for being here.